call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.
What up? Welcome back once again to the Necro Zoo. I am Bones. And in this one, let's go ahead and add one more figure to my McFarlane DC Multiverse collection. Now this time we will be starting off the Teen Titans wave. Now of course the collect-to-build figure on this one will be the Big Beast Boy. Now I'm actually really excited to take a look at all these figures, do a little bit of modifications, but we will be starting this one off with Donna Troy. Now she does look pretty Amazonian in the packaging, but let's go ahead and take a closer look at her. But first, she does come with your standard black DC Multiverse stamp. Now, of course, these are not really needed, but sometimes they do come in useful. She also comes with her data file card. On the front, you do have some pretty sweet source material from the comics. Pretty nice image there. And on the back, you do have some information. Now, you can do a read-up on this. Not too sure of the complete backstory behind Donna Troy. I do know she was kind of like built or made to fight Wonder Woman, the God Killer, in case she ever like went rogue. And then eventually Wonder Woman became like her mentor, and then she went on to go into the Teen Titans. But besides that, any other stuff that you guys might know, let me know in the comments. But I do kind of recognize her like from different images and comics and stuff, but just never really got into her backstory. And I do know she has been represented like in live action, but don't know too much about her backstory. So, but pretty cool. We'll add that to the collection. Now she does come with one accessory, which is a pretty big blade, awesome sword. I'm not too sure the story behind this one. If you do look up images on this, it is mostly just silver or gray. It doesn't really have any like accent colors, like maybe some gold, but that's this version. But if you do look up other images of Donna Troy, her sword does sometimes have like some gold or maybe some brown on the hilt. But for what it is a pretty nice sword. The plastic is pretty nice, not too soft, not too hard. But we might end up doing a little bit of repainting on this, and then I'll show it to you guys, see what you guys think. And then she does come with some parts to build that pretty big Beast Boy. This is on the two arms. They look nicely sculpted and a pretty cool lime green color with some fur. So we'll be checking these out more when we do build the Beast Boy. But let's go ahead and take a closer look at her. Now there is tons of different versions of Donna Troy. I'm pretty sure not all of them would be recognizable to like the normal consumer, but to comic book aficionados, she probably is pretty recognizable. Now I do know her in certain costumes. I think my favorite would have to be that kind of glittery black and silver kind of costume. I think that's just the one that always stuck in my brain. And of course, since black is my favorite color, that's the one I really gravitate towards, but she does have other different versions. But first impression, pretty nice figure. She does feel really good in hand, and she does have a nicely designed costume that I have to say all the components on this are pretty snug. There's not too much gaps or anything like that. It's just a really nicely executed costume, I have to say, all around. And if you see her, on the shelves, she does give off a pretty cool and powerful feel. So I would definitely pick her up, even if I wasn't, a completist, or if I didn't really know who she was. She does look like a cool female character. Now let's take a look at the head sculpt. Now this, of course, is a point of contention amongst us collectors, and that is because a lot of people think her face isn't the best. Now, I do have to say, With the recent figures we've been getting, like I think Catwoman, which have like a more like, even though it's a comic version, it kind of has like a realistic design. The paint around the eyes and the mouth make it have like a kind of realistic feel. And this one doesn't have that same paint tone, so it kind of does feel more like a comic or cartoonish version. Now that I have her actually in hand, it's not too bad. And I do see where like she has dark around her eyes. And I'm not just talking about her eyeliner. It kind of like encompasses all around her eyes, and it makes her have like a sort of like a sleepy feeling or something like that, you know, kind of jet lag feel where she hasn't gotten enough sleep. One thing I do really enjoy, I love a beautiful woman with black lipstick. I don't know what it does to me, but she does have a kind of darker, almost black lipstick, which I really appreciate. So she does look good to me. But all in all, it is a nice face sculpt. I think you could probably just make a little wash with a little lighter skin tone, and then, you know, just give it around the eyes and, you know, different parts of the face that just look too dark. I might end up doing that later when I do the Beast Boy build. I might show that. But for right now, in hand, she does actually look really good. So I enjoy the kind of aggressive and dark style that they went with her head sculpt. So not too bad. Now the hair is really raging all over the place. She has she has a lot of it, and it is pretty stiff. So let's see how the head articulation is going to work out. Now she looks down really well. No complaints there. And although people have said that there's none, you can't actually like push her head up. She does look more than eye level, so that's fine for me. Now I could mod this. You cut out a little bit of the plastic on the inside of the hair where you can't see it, and then you just repaint it, and then mod the neck porthole, which would give her a little bit more range. But for all intents and purposes, this is really working good for me. Now she does have right to left, and you can tilt her head for some character, but one way is it tilts a little bit more than the other, but she does have pretty nice range. Like I said, you can do a little bit of modding to get a little bit more, but for right now this is fine. One thing I really like is if you look at the upper torso, her costume has like different grains and different textures, which really make it stick out and takes it up, you know, another level than to just being like a flat costume. So I really like that added detail. Now, if you move down, I've heard a lot of people saying, oh, well, she has like an Aquaman symbol. Now, of course, we know this is the Amazon symbol. It is actually in the comics reference, so it's not like you have to be a rocket scientist to figure it out. This is representing her Amazonian heritage, and of course, this is also on her sword. So come on, guys. We know what that represents, and after a silver paint job, that might end up looking pretty sweet. Let's go ahead and take a look at the articulation. You do have side to side at the waist. You do have that full tilt-a-whirl at the waist, which gives her a lot of good range. She does have a lower waist swivel, an upper chest swivel. She does have a crunch. You can actually see it the way her upper torso kind of touches down above her belt, which is more than usual. And of course you can lean her back and twist her to get her in some cool poses. Now, one thing, as I said before, this is a really snug fit. There's no gappage, or actually if there is any gappage, it's very slight. It's just a really well executed figure, and the torso is kind of seamless. You don't get any big spaces in between the parts, and the movement is really smooth and clean. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the shoulder joint. Now under the pauldrons, she does have some shoulder pauldrons here, but they're pretty soft. You can see that she does have that socket kind of bushing joint, which gives you a lot of range. Underneath her armband, she does have a bicep cut. Pretty nicely instituted here where you could hide it, but she does have nice movement there. Double jointed elbows. Now, flesh colored arms and then also female arms don't really look too good with the double joint. It's part of the double-edged sword of having the double joint. If she had a single joint, you wouldn't see it, cut up so much or breaking up the sculpt so much. But of course, people do want their articulation. So that's just something we have to, put up with until McFarlane starts instituting pinless joints, which is going to be pretty awesome. Now moving down the arms, you go into some pretty cool forearm guards, kind of like gauntlets. And then of course you move down into a fist with the standard McFarlane 4 points of articulation. On the other side you have the same thing, but you do have the open hand to hold her weapon. You can get her in a pretty nice T-pose. Pretty good range there. You can even move her arms pretty much above her head because the shoulder pads actually get out of the way. So that's a nice touch. Let's go ahead and move down to her thighs. Now, she does have nice movement at her thigh swivel. Now, of course, this allows you to move her boot back and forth without having a thigh cut. There's actually a lot of nice range here. And then she can kick up really high, almost straight up. And of course, she could kick back just as high. Now, do not be afraid to move the rubber in the trunks because that is what they're made for. They're made out of that soft rubber to give you more dexterity and range. And when you put them back, of course, they go back to their original shape. Now you could still cock out her knee. She does have that hip swivel. Double jointed knees. Straighten them out. You got up and down at the ankle. Right to left. Rocker. And toe articulation. Now these boots are actually stylized kind of like all of the Wonder Woman figures that have been released, but they do have some pretty cool detail. If you look, they have some stars, they have another Amazonian symbol, and if you move up her legs, she has more design and textures. You got some more stars that really actually pop for the figure, which is awesome. All in all, an awesome lower body and a really nice thick lower body, which is always, of course, my preference. Now, if you look at her from the bottom, she does have no tread and no identifying marks. But moving up the back, you got the back of the boots into the legs. Of course, like I said, the costume has some cool textures. And then, man, you get into a pretty nice looking derriere there. The cut is kind of weird for her trunks, but they actually work with this because it's kind of looking at maybe like leggings or, spandex or something like that. If I had to compare it to anything, like her rump is kind of like Bailey, I guess you would say, kind of, thick there. And I'm definitely not hating that, so pretty cool. Moving up the back, up past the belt, which has actually some cool sculptured lines. And then the back. Now, if you lift up her hair, you can actually see even the back of her costume has some cool design and textures and piping, which is always appreciated. That added sculpt work from McFarlane. All in all, she is a really nice looking figure. No complaints really. Aside from the back and forth on the face sculpt and the painting, I really, really enjoy this figure. Now I have heard people complaining that, the sword should be silver, the gauntlets and the belt should be silver. Now, I will paint this, and then I'll show you guys what it looks like. You guys let me know if you think that's an improvement. And then I might even do her gauntlets, just because on the card you can see that it's like a really like reflective mirror silver. So I want to do that for you guys so you can see how that looks. But of course, this is a $20 figure. You are paying $25, but you do get the parts for the Beast Boy, which actually ends up making her about $20. So if there is any missing paint or little details like that, for me it is kind of acceptable because this is a mass market released figure. Of course, McFarlane now is going to come out with like a deluxe line that is supposed to have more paint and more off-the-wall characters that really wouldn't sell in the retail aisles. So for me, this is an awesome figure for $20. Now, I don't really have too much stuff to compare her to. If you go back, I do have this DC Universe Classics Donna Troy. Now, she is in her older kind of red costume with stars. This is like what a lot of people actually remember her from, is this version of her costume. But of course, she is really tiny because this is a from DC Universe Classics, and those figures were 6-inch, so she's scaled down to be a smaller teen female figure. And this one is, I think, more representative of like an Amazonian statuesque, female figure, and she does have a very nice physique. So I thought, just since I haven't opened any of the other Teen Titans, we'll go ahead and start her off next to Tim Drake Robin. Of course, that's a younger teen body book, so he is slightly shorter than her. Actually, a good deal, but that's fine. It just depends what version of the character you're talking about in the comics. So she's probably more of like Amazonian, trying to be a little bit taller. But she's not that tall, because if you do bring in the Three Jokers Batman from the family pack, he is, taller than her by more than a smidge. He is actually taller than her. So she's scaled, in a certain way. A lot of times people put a lot of thought into scale, and I just have to say that when you're posing these or you're taking photos, it's not a big deal. And when people are actually buying these figures, like going down the toy aisle, most consumers are not really thinking about the scale per se, or if each figure has exactly all the details that it's supposed to. They're just buying them because of the way they look, or if they look interesting. So that is the selling point that McFarlane is going for with these mass market produced figures. But anyways, guys, really enjoy her. She looks awesome. I've actually come to like her a lot more than I thought I would. Really, really impressed me. And I'm actually looking forward to taking a look at the rest of the Teen Titans. But anyways, you guys keep hunting out there, keep collecting, keep customizing, and I will see you on the next one.
They used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.